And welcome back to A.R.'s Tales, aka the A.R.T podcast. I am A.R. and today I am joined by the legendary Wilsey Zahner, author of the Crossing the Line, just out. You need to pick it up. It is a young adult action adventure, and she is going to talk to us all about it right now. But without any further ado, Wilsey, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. Honestly, first interview since I've been back from London. More than excited to get back into the whole community, see what everyone's been up to in the last couple months, and just the fact that you are recommended by Julia, who is one of the OGs. She was in one of the first 12 episodes, I believe. So just it's full circle come around, because I think it's been like almost a year since I've interviewed Julia. So phenomenal that everything is coming together, and I'm more than excited for this interview. So when did the writing bug hit for you? Was it a young age? Did it come later on?
It came very young. I mean, I've always tried to write books, but obviously 6-year-old me wasn't really at the age where I could be publishing books, but writing has always been a passion of mine. I'm just glad that I can finally turn that into like a tangible thing that I can create with it.
Because I do see that you are pretty active with the TikToks, no? Booktok?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
How is that? How do you treat that as far as creating content for your fans and just creating a community for your future readers?
Well, I think it's a really great opportunity, not only as marketing, but to create a community. I talk a lot about feminism and feminism in books, and I think that's really important to be able to talk about that in every different market and to be able to share that with people from all over the globe.
Now, what I find interesting is, how do you find a way to convey such powerful thoughts and ideas like that, and the other ideas that I'm sure you try to convey throughout your videos in order to promote your writing? How do you convey that in the limited amount of time span that TikTok offers? And how do you compete versus, a cat falling over 20 times? That shit is hilarious.
Well, that is definitely a struggle. I have noticed videos that are less opinionated, I guess you could say, tend to get more views than the videos where I talk about issues that are really important to me. I just put out a video where I talk about how feminist books can really resonate with young girls and help them feel less alone. And I think that one got around 2,000 views, but then a video of me peeling a sticker off a book because that's funny will get like 16,000 views.
Wow.
So it's really just you win some, you lose some with these types of videos.
Wow. And when did you start? Which one was the chicken? Which one was the egg? Was it the writing and then the TikTok videos came after, or did you start doing the TikTok videos out of your own accord and then the writing kind of followed suit after?
Well, I published my first book. I think it was before I started, it was before I made an Instagram account. I definitely wish that I would have started the Instagram account before, because it's really how I do all of my marketing, and being someone that's on the app so often, it's been an amazing resource to use to market my writing.
I can definitely see that. And have you seen the growth from doing the Booktok versus not having one?
Yeah, definitely. The first book that I wrote, I had to really hunt for beta readers with people that I already knew, just like local friends. But now that I have this social media account, I was able to reach out to authors and professional beta readers to beta read for my second book coming out soon.
So this is your second book that you've written throughout your life?
First book is Crossing the Line. I'm coming out with the second part in the trilogy on April 27th.
My God. And when did you first publish Crossing the Line?
I think it was around like July and August. I had written it over my April break, which is an insane amount of time to be writing like an entire book, but I was just so driven that it made me really passionate to be writing like 10 hours a day.
Yeah, I get it. Especially when you have an idea. So it brings me to that. What was the idea? Especially that your first book is a trilogy. That means that you had a true prose behind the idea of the book much further than just like the want of having a book, right? So what was this idea that you just got obsessed with? That you just had to latch a story onto?
Well, I knew that I wanted to become an advocate for victims of modern slavery. A lot of people tell me that's a very serious topic to take on, and it completely is. And there isn't like a lot of people talking about that and how much modern slavery and child labor is really like affecting the products that we use. So with this trilogy, it follows a 16-year-old girl named Camille, and she unfortunately is a slave in India. And the book is her journey and her journey to escape and dealing with then like the guilt and trauma of that unfortunate situation while also trying to make it appropriate for children to read.
My God, that's fascinating. And then how did you build off from that idea? Did you build the idea, your main character from there? Did you inscribe with her as much emotional, growth and malice as you could from your own life, from things that you've seen? Or did you just make it purely for the plot, like what you needed?
Well, I try to bring in as much internal conflict as I can with these characters because I think that's really what makes the reader want to keep reading, and that's what makes it matter. I always have had the main character, Camille, through all different like ideas of what the plot was going to be, whether it was going to take place in America or India or Pakistan. Camille was always the main character. So I think this is really centered around like her journey and the fear and desire that she is facing in all of this that she's dealing with.
Wow. And then how did you develop the side characters alongside her?
Well, I'm not going to lie. The side character, Archie Ahuja, is definitely inspired by Leo Valdez from my favorite series as a kid reading the Percy Jackson series.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll always love that character. So I figured we might as well bring in some of his personality aspects into this new character that I really have grown to love. Of course, I have like 5 of the books over on my shelf.
Oh, that's phenomenal. No, please continue though.
In this book, there aren't a ton of side characters. In the second book that isn't out yet, there's a new character named Abibi, which I think I really developed her by taking like all of the bad aspects of myself and like putting that into a character. She isn't really the most likable character, but I guess I kind of wanted it to be that way to see how dealing with a trauma like that can really negatively affect someone.
And how did you like writing that character?
It was really fun, especially making, of course, the Spotify playlist. I got all like the gloomy songs I could, all the Taylor Swift breakup songs, and put them all together and tried to make myself like as angry and miserable as possible. I definitely had to make sure that I like put the writing away and had a very separate like, here's how I feel when I'm writing, and here's how to be happy when I'm not writing, because it can really take over when you're making a character that upset.
Man, I love that. So we've kind of crossed the like thing of like how you as a young adult. How did you make it an action adventure? How does the suspense start building up? How do you decide to go about the actual action sequences and the adventure of it all?
Well, I think that I knew that I wanted there to be an exciting plot, because that is really what like a lot of the kids in my audience find exciting more than just the internal conflict. So I kind of thought like what would be very exciting, but also something that 2 16-year-old kids could like manage. without spoiling too much, there are somewhat exciting scenes a lot towards the end, because I love leaving people off on cliffhangers. Just something that I find really fun when people message me being like, oh, I hated the ending, it's a cliffhanger. That's how I find my joy as an author. So I think I try to make the endings the most suspenseful.
And then how did you decide to, well, how did you know that it was going to be a trilogy? How did it, like, what part of like the story did you know, like, all right, this is going to be something I want in 3 installments?
I just, after writing the first one, I wasn't ready to give up the characters yet. I wanted to see them be happy. And I knew that in the length of the book, which as you can see is like a really short book, I wanted to give them like a full circle kind of ending and not cram an entire plot into one longer book, instead to space it out into 3.
And how did you deal with the actual technical creation part of the book, as far as the creating the book cover, the interior book design, all the little nitty gritty that no one actually tells you until you actually become an author and want to start publishing stuff?
I am very lucky that my dad is a graphic designer.
Oh, wow. You're really lucky.
Yeah, he designed the cover, which I'm not going to lie, I love the cover, and I'm so grateful that I had him to work with me on that. Otherwise, I don't know if I would have been able to be able to make a physical book. He helped edit. He did the interior design. He helped submit it to my publishing company, Lulu, which is an indie publisher. And I definitely, there's no way I would have been able to do this without his help. So I'm very grateful for that.
My God, that does sound like a phenomenal father.
Mm-hmm.
Well, cheers to him, honestly.
Yeah.
And did he also help you make the second one?
Yeah, we're actually designing the cover tomorrow, so that's really exciting. We've been Googling a bunch of different images that we could use. I have 5 million saved to my phone, and then he puts the title on. The title for the second book is Long Time No See. So hopefully we'll have a fun cover for that one, which I'll be revealing once it's, designed. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to doing that with him.
Man, that is awesome. Honestly, I love the process sometimes, especially with how grueling it can be, but just knowing that the final, just what you did right there, just holding up your book. It's one of those things that to someone that doesn't know or hasn't tried to be an author, it's just a simple gesture, holding up a book, but the amount of work that book holds, my God, the amount of hours, just thinking man, am I doing the right thing? I should just go out with my friends. I don't know what I'm doing. I just go to the bar. I don't know why I'm wasting my time. But then you finally hold it, right? Nothing better.
Oh yeah, it's an amazing feeling. When I first received the book, the package came, I was screaming with excitement. Also the feeling when you first see it on your book on Amazon or something, it's just an amazing feeling.
I know. Oh my God. And I have to ask, what was your favorite part of this process, and what was the part that you hated the most? Because there has to be a yin and yang with this, right?
Mm-hmm. That's a really interesting question, because I feel like there are so many steps to writing. I guess my favorite part would probably be when I'm having my beta readers read it for the first time. I had one of my friends beta read. Her name is Abby, and she is an amazing beta reader. She had 170 edits for a 60-page document in a matter of days. She had read it. I'm so impressed with her. And of course, I had a form for them to fill out after they read it. And she was fangirling over the 2 main characters' dynamic. And it's just amazing to see someone be that excited over something I've written. Least favorite is probably when you're writing, you're the first draft in the middle. Because I feel it can get slow and you feel you so much ahead of you. It's just a really brutal process.
Yeah. My God, that's actually a really good way of putting it. It really is the middle. It's when you're in a marathon. It's oh my God, I already ran 12 miles and I got another. I don't know if I can do this anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you actually brought up a great term. fangirling. And it made me wonder, in order for you to create the feeling of fangirling, you must have known what fangirling is.
Oh, definitely.
So what was it that made you fangirl when you were younger?
Well, I've mentioned this already, but definitely Percy Jackson, of course. I mean, basically every book I've read that has like some sort of romance in it, then immediately I'm going to fangirl over it. Like 100 Days of Sunlight by Abby Emmons made me start crying in the middle of class, even though there was a happy ending. I'm just that dramatic. So, of course, I'm going to have to make a big deal over it. So, really, any book that I read, I will fangirl over. So.
So is that something that you will always put in your book? You'll always have a romance, no matter how you write it. It has to be in there.
Definitely. I mean, I always try to make my female characters like really strong, powerful women because that isn't represented enough. But that doesn't mean that they can't have like a really fun love interest. Like we have to make the book interesting.
Well, yeah, everyone can experience love, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
well, so it makes you like wonder, especially with the whole thing of like trying to create, especially the way you just said, like the underrepresentation of truly powerful women, right? Mm-hmm. What do you think are overused tropes that you see, or things that like you really want to stay away from as far as like creating a character goes?
Well, I personally don't like seeing when there are these perfect women, like, you know, the perfect blonde supermodel that doesn't really have a use in the book. I love seeing how Katniss Everdeen was portrayed, especially in the later books in the Hunger Games series, because she is dealing with a lot like in her mind, and yet she still manages to represent her people. And I love seeing that because she's not as perfect as some of those women are portrayed that don't really do much in the book.
That's a really good point. I mean, even in the movie, and Jennifer Lawrence is a babe, but like they really made her seem just like, homely, no makeup on, just, hair in a bun all the time. That's actually a really good like point of view. Personally, yeah. I always like to have the thing on like the TV shows or like any like shows with like power dynamics. They'll have like a girl do some crazy martial arts, and then like she'll be like wearing heels, and they'll be like, oh, all that in heels. It's like, yeah, but like heels is just hard for anybody.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely characters that I write that will do things like that will not be wearing heels, because that is a very big risk, and I don't want to put my character that much pain, really.
My favorite is when like in anime they'll actually write like a really strong character, but then her armor is like a bra and like some type of like some armored lingerie, and she's like the badass of the group. It's like, man, you had it though. You had the character. She's saying the right things, but why does she have to be dressed like she's doing Playboy in like an hour and a half? She's gonna go hang out with the Kardashians in a half hour.
And especially I noticed that in a lot of books that feature like female superheroes, where they have like have suits that are supposed to make them, look pretty, while a lot of the male superheroes get to just, complete their mission and have their character arc. They're not focused on the male appearance as much. And that isn't a really good way to portray females, especially when that's to children who are going to be imprinted by that.
Damn. I love how much you think of like everything, huh? It makes me wonder. So for the first trilogy, you were tackling the idea of modern slavery. Where do you think that will progress on? Do you think, well, first of all, do you think you'll continue on with creating trilogies, or do you think after this you'll make a standalone, or maybe you'll go into short story novellas? What do you think is like next for you?
I'd love to try writing a nonfiction book, because I feel like then I wouldn't have to like portray another character, because when I'm writing a character, I really like get into the zone and pretend like I'm that person to really make their voice sound authentic. But I'd love to just like write a nonfiction book where I'm just speaking like myself and my opinion and talking about things I care about without having to act like a different character.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea. Imagine if you blended those ideas together and did say your story and like said everything you would normally, but then just change the names and locations out.
Yeah, that's a really interesting thought.
And then like the fun part about it is that just you and the people that have been a part of it would know. Everyone else would just think it's a fiction.
Yeah, that's actually a really interesting idea. That is something that I'd want to try eventually.
Well, I think that's like the coolest part of like writing. It's not even just like the technicals of creating a story, but like when you watch like a TV show or read a book or watch like a movie and they just like show you a new way of storytelling. It immediately goes like, oh man, I would like to do that. But the first time I heard about a false narrator, and spoiler alert, I have not written one yet because that's the part of also being an author. You want to write a lot of things, but then you don't. But the first time I heard of a false narrator, I thought it was like the coolest idea ever. Like the idea that the person that is giving you the story, the person that you're supposed to rely on, the person that's supposed to tell the truth all the time, because why else are you reading? Even what they're saying is like, who knows? Maybe, maybe not.
That's a really interesting idea. I've always wanted to try that.
Well, outside of a nonfiction, do you think is there any other ideas that you're very passionate about that you want to create stories about and maybe illuminate a little bit more ideas that maybe aren't talked about as much? Because you are really on the money. Modern slavery is one of those things that we somehow always we all know what's going on, but no one talks about it. I mean, right here, this is like the perfect example of it, and no one ever talks about it. We can use our phone to find out more about it, ironically, and we still don't.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate. And I love writing books that I'm really passionate about, like the theme and the message that it's portraying. I'd love to write a book. The book I'm reading right now is called Moxie, and it basically follows this girl who's in high school that's dealing with a lot of sexism and catcalling, which is something that I personally deal with a lot just with kids in my school. And being a teenager, that's something I face on a daily basis. And I'd really like to write about like my experience with that and how much the sexism I deal with has bothered me, but in a way that also like is fun to read and brings light of a lot of other topics. Like I'd love to talk about like the racism that a lot of teenagers face in school. I know that happens at my school and it's awful. And I'd love to talk about like the sexism at my school and everything that's kind of messed up and just put that all into one book.
Man, that would be awesome. And what other genres are you into? We've already talked about romance. We've already talked about young adult from everything with the Hunger Games. But how far does your appreciation of literature go? Like, do you also like science fiction? Do you also like alien invasion stories? How far do you like it? And will you ever write those more fringe genres?
I have an appreciation for a lot of genres. I tend to stick to the ones I'm more comfortable with, but I've been trying to like read more classics, read more sci-fi, read more historical fiction. And it would be really interesting to write in those genres, specifically science fiction. Jurassic Park, the book, really was powerful to me just because of like how much work Michael Crichton put into it and like this whole world building web where everything seems so plausible and realistic. I feel like that'd be a challenge to write, but something I'd love to try.
That was a really good answer. Actually, I myself have not read Jurassic Park. I feel a little embarrassed about it now. Oh god.
It's a really good book. It's challenging. Like it's not hard to read, but it takes a while to read because you have to read everything over like 3 separate times just to understand it. But I think it was worth it.
I love that. I think my version of that was Frankenstein, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Just going through that, especially that the first time that I read it was like in high school, and it didn't really click into me. until like halfway through. And then it finally did click into me. And I had to reread everything again to be able to like understand the magnitude of what I was just going through. And like everything that my teacher like was saying was finally going through my head. Like, oh my God, the amount of sciences. I mean, the idea of that type of science of bringing somebody back at the time was like spoken about a couple times at like, a couple science fairs at the time. That would be like me writing a story about like, I don't even know what, like some like crazy quantum entanglement that they just found out about in like MIT, and I read a story about it. Like that's how like on the cusp of like science like she was at the time. And then like everything else in between it, I just love the amount of work and passion that people put into this craft. And I love doing this the most because you like really see that even from the highest to the lowest, all authors are putting in the same amount of work. I just love that communal energy that all authors have, I guess, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, it is a really great community to be in.
So we've talked about the past, we've talked about the present. What is the future for Wilsey? What can the fans expect? What do you want to do, or is there anything in the pipeline that you have coming on? Any new marketing schemes? Any new marketing ads? That is there a trailer coming up? What can the people expect?
Well, my next book is coming out April 27th, so I'm very excited for that. A little nervous that that's under a month away now, and I'm still in the editing process, but I need to trust the process and know it'll get done. But besides that, I'm hoping for the third book in the trilogy to come out sometime around November, but that's not really a definite. And then I have something that, without revealing too much, involves the trilogy that I'm planning to release this December. So I'm really excited. We're going to finish up the trilogy this year. And after that, I have no clue what I'm going to write about next. So that's going to be a fun journey.
My God, folks. Crossing the Line is out now. You can get it on Amazon. You can get on her Instagram. You already know links to everything will be below, will be in the banners, will be in the description. You can find it everywhere. But you need to go ahead and get the book. Honestly, if you're not on YouTube and you're just like listening on to this, you need to see the cover. It is actually a really awesome cover. You can really tell that her dad is a graphic designer and must be a well-paid one too, because damn, that is a really cool design for the book. I can only imagine what is coming up in the second and the third. The idea that she's talking about, I just believe it. I just believe there's going to be a good series. There's a good one. I wish I had a book club stamp, like the Oprah Club or whatever. Boom, AR stamp. Get this book for sure. Wilsey, it has been a pleasure. I am glad that you came out to do this.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. And if you could, the people listening on, where can people find you on Instagram? If you have Twitter, where can people find you? Anywhere and anything.
Find me on Instagram. It's at Wilsey_Zahner. And I think my Goodreads is also Wilsey Zahner. Basically, every platform, Wilsey Zahner.
And that is spelled Wilsey. And then Zahner is Zahner. Google that if you need to. Find it. Crossing the Line. Book 2 coming out very soon. And the third one, TBD. But coming out pretty relatively soon. And again, I'm honestly astonished with the how rapid you're knocking these out. Hats off to you. And I really do wish you very much success on this author path. It is a challenging one, but man, is it satisfying, honestly.
Well, thank you so much.
And again, is there anything you last words, any last minute promotions, anything that you want to promote at all? Go ahead. This is the moment to.
Well, obviously we just went over. Go look at my Instagram. I post a lot of stuff that we've been talking about, feminism, books, all that stuff. So go look at my Instagram.
And check out the TikTok videos. They are definitely very entertaining. I watched a couple of them. Make sure to hop on that Booktok. Wilsey, Zahner. It has been a pleasure. This has been AR's Tales, aka the A.R.T podcast. I've been AR. This has been Wilsey. It's been an honor. We will check back with you next week. Peace out.